Get a poll.
All right, yes. Just a few seconds here and then Tom or Rob will get us. Still at 5:31, yeah, so.
I got
All right, we're live now.
Okay.
I'll now call order this meeting of the Higginburg Common Council. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be here in this meeting room tonight, and ask that you be with this board and be with those that are presenting, that we may take into considerations all citizens of the city of Huntingburg. For these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, first of all, you've all had a chance to look at the minutes. I hear a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of claims. Do I hear a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a first and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna, really, the first two things, we've got a couple considerations here. The ordinance, do you have a copy of the ordinance? here?
I don't have, I got I don't have I've got a draft of the prior ordinance, I think. Do you have it?
Have a copy.
But,
It's on board, but
it's on board.
It's in board pack, but if you want to go ahead and go to the podium, in just in case we have any questions regarding the fees. Chief Kramer. Any discussion from anybody? We have ordinance number 2024.
2024-18.
18. Okay. Before we have asked for a motion to approve, do we have any questions regarding the fees?
this is only for digital media.
There's several things in there.
Yeah.
And
So there should have been a video recording portion added.
yeah, there
Yeah,
is.
that's right.
Yeah. Just some adjustments to transferring photos through like email. And then also putting photos on a storage device such as a USB or something like that. And then update to the incident report.
Mind me asking what led to adjusting these, just cost
Oh.
going up or?
Yeah, so like the incident reports, typically what we find is somebody doesn't come in to get a report that happened yesterday or 2 days ago. They're coming from 2 years ago. And we have to sit there and search and sift through 100 daily calls to figure out which one is theirs. And then we gotta figure out, make sure it's the right one, who's involved, why they're getting it, stuff like that. So that just takes more and more time. And then as far as the video recordings, we never had anything for that. So we were just, we were lucky enough that nobody ever requested anything until recently. And we couldn't even collect for it because we didn't have the ordinance. So that's what prompted this. And then just the transfer of electronic, it moved from photo prints. We don't have anybody come in and get printed photos ever. So we kind of took that out. And then as far as the photos on the USB, we just changed it from like CD and electronic. And then the price jump in that is just to cover the USB that we have to provide. And we're not taking a USB from somebody and putting it into our computer because it's not safe.
I was gonna ask you that on the videos, the same scenario on the videos.
Yep. So
Smart.
we'll provide everything that goes into it. That way we don't put in a device that's been tampers with into one of our computers.
The video recording copy fee, that's fairly new for Indiana, and it primarily applies to the body cameras that the officers are wearing, or the vehicle cameras. But there's a lot of work associated with that. I think Chief Kramer can attest to that. They have to go in and delete any identity of any individual who's not involved in the reported
Yeah.
incident, or there's minors involved, or there's minors on the video, those have to be deleted.
Yeah, so if they aren't directly, if they're in the video, we'll keep them from being redacted. But anybody else that's in the video, they must be redacted. And that process is pretty exponential as far as downloading it and then getting. I don't know if you've ever seen like Evansville, how they do theirs. They always blur out, whether it be a face or a person in general. You gotta do all the tracking with all of them. I mean, it's pretty extensive.
Yeah, you also have to, anything that's a form that you have to take out a person's name or anything that might lead,
Right.
a phone number or something that
Yeah.
would lead to their identity, I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so,
So
Yep.
all of that has to be looked at prior to releasing it, and it has to be adjusted accordingly. And the only way we can keep from releasing people's identity is by using the program that comes with our body worn stuff, so.
Those fees stay within the department. They'll be used for other training or recording devices that may need to be finished. So it doesn't go to the general fund. It stays there.
okay, so this is.
So
Move to introduce it
Right,
tonight.
correct, you could introduce it tonight.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number 2024-18.
18. Yes.
I'll second.
right, to all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to is accepted. Thank you.
Send the rules, that's the first night, I'll make that motion.
You may, although the Board of Public Works has not met yet, so they haven't seen these increases. Typically, the Board of Public Works does make recommendations to the council. Chief Kramer wanted to get this expedited because obviously they want to receive compensation for the time they're putting into these fees. It would be okay to suspend the rules unless you feel like you might be stepping on the Board of Public Works toes,
I'd let them meet.
and let them meet and approve the recommendation
meet
and then
next
come
week.
back and
Maybe
approve it.
next week, so that's fine.
If you're willing to wait, I am.
Okay.
It's okay.
So we don't have a second, so it dies, I guess.
Yeah.
As a
So
result.
it'll
of
be
suspended
carried
rules.
over to next meeting.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, so we'll carry it over next meeting. It is on the agenda already for the Board of Public Works and Safety for next Thursday's meeting, along with your next
Yep.
presentation.
So, more so just to get an idea of how you guys feel about it, but I've had an individual come forward wanting to give us a significant donation for another canine, to provide another dual purpose canine for the city. We met last week, discussed everything from the start to the finish of it. With that donation, we would also seek out the same grant that we got for Romeo. And in fact, we would request for more money if we do it the same way, just because we would be eligible to do that. Last time we got $6,700 or $6,750. So we would actually get a little bit more than that to kind of cut that cost back a little bit for that private donor. But they are willing to make that donation. More so trying to get an idea of if you guys would be accepting of that.
If I remember right, we have in the budget the line item for the canine officer, right?
Yeah, so that kind of covers their off-duty kennel maintenance.
Right.
And then, we have a canine fund that people donate to. So,
So essentially, we could potentially have one on duty most of the time.
Yeah.
Right now, if
we would have one on. every
this
day of the week.
this person's off duty, then we have to call this person in
Yeah,
if needed.
yep, correct.
And I think they're on a pretty strict schedule to, like, if the
Yeah, we
dog's
could-
eaten or something, like can't go. So
Yeah.
there are times whenever maybe,
Yeah, so there are times
it's
that they're down,
unavailable.
just because you don't want them to bloat. If they do bloat, you gotta rush them to an ER, and we'll have to foot that bill, so,
Yeah.
and that's pretty expensive.
Is there
Or
a
they
way to-
die, but
Is there a way to, an easy way to, outside of unexpected vet bills and stuff, but is there a way to estimate the total cost of having a canine unit or canine, an additional one, you know, like isn't there an increase in the officer's pay and the maintenance for the actual
So-
dog and
Yeah, the vehicle cost too.
yeah, so, as far as the officers' pay, historically speaking, it's maintained what they've been at. What Councilman Kissling alluded to, the canine fund or the canine wages, that's what the off-duty pay is. Typically, you can set it whatever you agree to. We don't have an agreement right now with Jorge. That's something that I plan on sending to Phil to draft up. And that's something that I would like to draft up as well for the next canine budget. But that would come out of that fund, and there is enough in there to cover that for both guys.
And it is a sizable donation and some of
It
that
is.
would come early in order to outfit a vehicle
Yeah,
prior to the arrival of the dog. So
so,
we wouldn't have that cost coming in.
when I think just the offset of the overtime for the one unit or for the, otherwise, if you only have one
Yeah.
and then that officer has to come in. It seems like always having one on duty.
Yeah.
would be a-
Basically getting another officer.
Does the sheriff's county have it?
the county has one canine. I couldn't tell you what kind of shift he works. Sometimes it's a split, sometimes it's days. It just, it varies. For this, we would look at putting Jorge's already on a shift, and then we would look at putting the other canine on the opposite rotation. To where they're, unless the canine handler themselves is on vacation, there would literally be a canine on every single day. So,
Yeah, previous experience with the K9, as a K9
yeah,
officer.
what are the years of service of a typical canine dog or police dog?
6, 7 years.
8 to 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah, depending on, like a dual purpose, you're gonna probably get less, but if it's a single purpose, you know, jumping in and out of the vehicle, bibs go out, you know. Everybody gets old.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
I mean, I know they have a retirement date, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Even
but
if
it's-
they're,
I think we had Esther for probably nine years or so on the road. So that's pretty good lifespan.
Yep.
On the road. She's still living, thankfully.
How long between Esther and now the new dog? Or did we have a span without a dog?
Probably 2 years.
Because I think if we had two dogs too, that would kind of eliminate that, if one of them,
Yeah, but-
that they would be more tapered.
Wouldn't have wouldn't have any gaps.
Yeah.
Is it a single purpose or dual purpose or that yet to be determined?
I would be interested in a dual purpose dog. Just because there's multiple uses for them, like the tracking. Obviously, you can track an individual, doesn't mean it's gonna bite or apprehend anybody on the other end.
Yeah.
Similar to Jorge's dog, it's a tracking dog. We can muzzle it, track with him. Doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna get a bite at the end. If it's a lost individual, we don't want him to bite, we're gonna throw a muzzle on him.
Yep.
Just because he's trained to bite,
Mhm.
and we don't want that liability, and we don't want body parts missing at the end of it,
We appreciate
so.
it's a hell of a way to end somebody's.
Yeah.
being lost.
We found him.
But yeah, that's, I mean, that's, we're looking towards the end of the year to move forward with that, and then, they're wanting to make a majority of the donation into next year, I'm assuming due to tax reasons. But other than that, I told them that we'd be interested in purchasing the kennel ahead of time. That way, we have the kennel, we have the vehicle ready to go. And whenever we register for the class, we can just go get the dog and proceed. That way.
Do they
it's
just
kinda
have
smooth.
dogs readily available, like,
Uh,
or,
kennel
yeah.
does.
I mean, they're working with them all
yeah,
the time.
constantly? I didn't know if you had to like reserve it. Yeah.
Vehicle available.
Yeah, we would use one of our existing vehicles,
It's retrofitted.
similar to what we did with Blaze.
Is this already built into the budget numbers we're gonna see on Thursday? Is
No.
there funds in the budget for
Uh,
this already, or?
No, with knowing. So this meeting came after me preparing those documents, but as far as. The donation, it's gonna cover the vehicle, the training for the dog, and all of the expenses going up to the training. The only thing that we would have to pay would be like if we called the person out after training. And maybe collar, equipment, stuff like that. Minor things here, there, but all of the major expenses were thrown into that donation.
We had to put a few $1,000s into the class dog,
Yeah,
but we won't have to this time.
right.
This is actually gonna be about $5,000 higher than all this. I think it's around 50 than what we started with the last with Romeo.
Yeah, so it's probably, we're estimating about a $20,000 donation. If we're gonna put a number on it.
That's a nice donation.
I think we started out with 15,700 or something like that with the last. If I remember correctly.
More or less trying to get your guys' opinions on it. How we proceed from here.
Obviously, no objections.
No, I don't think either.
Thank you.
We do have a canine fund for receiving these kinds of donations, or we have to create a special? fund?
Yes, we do. Do we have a name, or is there not a name, or do we have an amount? There's,
Well,
I don't have an amount exactly yet, just because it's gonna be broken into two separate donations. With trying to get that kennel in first, and then once we get it installed, then we'll register for classes and the dog. So, but we can get on a list for the training as soon as they issue out that list of when their trainings are. That way we can be number one as far as selecting our dog. Because they go by how early you register for each class, so. If the training's in March, we can call in December and say, hey, we've got a guy.
Bulk of the donation will come at first of the year.
Yeah,
We don't,
so,
we don't need a creator fund. We have a place to take them, accept the money.
there is a K9.
yeah,
donation. And we also can track that. Just
Cool.
for those costs.
right.
so once we have a definite amount, I think the council needs to accept that amount. It could be in 2 installments or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It'd be an action for the council to accept.
Okay. And I'll work on, in the meantime, until we get that, I'll work on getting the pricing for the kennel and the equipment stuff that goes with the vehicle. And then also, the training and the canine itself. And then as well as the grants. Because that'll help knock down that portion, that way he doesn't have to donate the full 20, it might be 19, it might be 18, something like that.
We can make a motion to accept up to $20,000. What we're
We
saying.
can do that.
Or an email. Nothing,
Yeah,
Why would you limit
Yeah, that's true. Somebody else might want to help.
it? Yeah,
And I'm sure they would appreciate that too, but they're willing to make that donation because they see the need for it, so.
We need a motion to accept the donation at which time it comes, but
we need to do that tonight, or we?
yeah, I think you could do it. Yeah, I mean, it's in any such amounts. Now, if it's not sufficient and the department decides not to pursue it, we'd have to refund the donation, of course. It can only be used for the canine program.
So if you want to put a dollar amount, or just make a motion to accept the K9 donation.
I guess you can, any amounts donated.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
we got a first, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. You've got two more
Yes,
promotions here,
uh,
new hire and a promotion.
yes, so we're looking at expanding our reserve officers, to try to help us cover events. Whether that be festivals, ball games, Herbst Fest, the the stuff on Fourth Street here. They cover all of those for us. And city doesn't pay them. Most of the time, organizations that host us pay that fee for them. But the first one I would like to present to you guys is Adam Bauer. He's a retired sergeant from JPD with a little over 20 years of service with them. He brings, he is a firearms instructor as well as a primary instructor, and he can teach, you know, basic things as well. We have a need for a firearms instructor still. We don't have anybody currently other than another reserve. So it'd be nice to give us more availability to get onto the range and practice. And then he also was a canine handler for several years at Jasper.
So our city ordinance says that reserve officers are appointed by the mayor, but with the consent and advice of the council. So I believe that chief is bringing this to the council tonight for your consent and approval. So the mayor could proceed if he chooses to appoint it.
And I have spoken with Adam and I know Adam well, and I think I'd jump at a chance to bring him on as a reserve officer, frankly. Yeah. He's
Do you have
present.
other names that you're gonna talk about?
I've got another one too, yeah.
Can we do both at the same time? I think everybody probably knows Jamie
Okay,
Roushey and.
yeah. Jamie Rashi, he's an auxiliary officer for us currently. Like to move him up to a reserve. He's been with us for almost 6 years. Next month will be 6 years. He's currently a jail officer for our sheriff's department. And he's been proven to be an asset to us. He works many events, many ball games, festivals. Typically one of the first to volunteer if he's off, so.
Do we need a motion to approve?
We need a motion to approve both.
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of two reserve officers.
All right, do we have a second?
Also,
All those in favor?
Aye.
So the next step would be for me to make an appointment of those two.
Yeah.
And we'll-
Again, you might afford the
We're gonna go-
courtesy
we
to the
will.
Board of Public
Yeah.
Works.
We do have it on our Board of Public Works for next Thursday.
You know, advising him of it as well, so.
We won't do any appointments, so we have
And
that
this will bring us
conversation.
up to 9 reserve officers, so. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief, for,
Thank you.
thank you for all your hard work and also for your, I know many of you were involved last weekend.
Yeah.
Working security for the red, white and brown and
So,
things. At 11:31, they're pretty much the cars were out of town or headed down 231 anyway. Went very smoothly after the event that ended after 11. We didn't have mass. I think there was maybe one small incident where somebody was asked to leave, two possibly. Somebody had a little mouthy, but there were no injuries, no threats of violence, nothing like that. It was a very clean event.
Yep.
Same with Friday night, so we appreciate the reserve officers that were there. In fact, Mr. Bauer was there. Saturday night too, and Friday night, so. Okay, thank you. You don't have to stay unless you really want to. All right. Superintendent John Rudapola.
No, John.
Gas department. Added 4 more services this month. 7 applications ready to go. They do replace 65 meters this month, new census meters. Now, a couple of crews got called up to 8th Street that they're reconstructing to lower a couple of gas services. They were steel. This stuff was put in probably in the 50s. If you recollect. We tried to lower some of the steel service lines that cracked the coating where they welded to the main. Started small leak. Say back in the 50s when it's welded, it was just, as long as it didn't leak, it's good, so. No really regulations back then. Then when we uncovered some of the main, steel main, you could tell where they probably tried to lower the main with a backhoe. But it just scraped along the main, they flat spotted it. Which is not regulation anymore. So while the asphalt was all tore out the road, besides good idea just to replace the main and all the surfaces with plastic. Since, like I say, we don't have to dig through the asphalt, so spent 2 weeks up there. Placing all the services, placing the main, it all tied in, all plastic now. We got records of everything. Before we didn't have no record, pressure test records or nothing. So we're all back in compliance. And they did move to 17th Street. I think it's gonna be milled and repaved. No plug valve there. We had to dig down and replace. They're not cold anymore. We knew it was there, so we had to go down and, well, cut it out, weld it, weld a new one back in, ball valve. Well, they got that all done. I think this week they're working on 17th now. The deep patching and they'll mill it, pave it. And I did include the locator truck, the bids. 3 bids came in. You can see GE. Or not GE, GM was the lowest at 33,146. I did include all the quotes. I'll look them over. That's with the trade-in of the 2004 truck. It's got over 275,000 miles on it. Several items are going wrong with it. So you're gonna give us like $1,300 trade-in value. So I mean, everybody's okay with it, the through truck.
I have a question. One, I guess we get 4-wheel drive because that's also available in the 4-door cab. I know it's only
Actually-
2-door made anymore.
Actually, it's a fleet truck, so actually they got one on the lot in Kansas right now that they got a kind of tag for us in case we do buy it. It's nothing fancy, it's all black, no chrome on it. I mean, it's a white truck, but it's got black trim.
And I assume this truck can haul the equipment he needs.
All the locating equipment and some emergency equipment on, you'll have room for it.
Okay.
Plus it's a lot better on, gonna be a lot better on gas mileage. It's a lighter duty truck than what's being driven now. Probably double the gas mileage.
Do we need to make a motion to
Yes.
get that approved then?
Yeah, need a motion for the GM, purchase of the GM vehicle through Ubler and Sons. That's what we're looking for. At a price of 33,146, that was said. We got,
Second the motion.
we got a first and second, all those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Any other questions on the gas? Moving on to the electric. We had a local company come in. We had 3 areas, residential areas that we decided to go ahead and bore. And overhead lines that were next to some wooded areas. Kind of small areas, couple residents on each one. Like I say, in bad weather, it's hard to get trucks in there. Poles are getting old. So we decided to go ahead and convert that to underground. And then the crews did replace 10 poles this month. A lot of them are old, need replacing. We had to do a lot of tree trimming just to get in to replace a couple of the poles. That's how overgrown it was. Once again, it's hard to get trucks in there in bad weather, so it's a good time to get in and replace them. Crews, they installed the solar lights into Northside Park this month. We'll notice they're kind of dim if you look at them from a distance. They do have motion detectors on them. So as you get closer to them, they'll brighten up. Which will save, it's not so bright if there's nobody there at night for the residents that lives in the area. And they did work at the wastewater plant. Redoing some of the primary wiring for beginning construction down there. There's some work we had to do. We had to shut the plant down for a couple hours. Redo the primary wires, build a transformer setting for some temporary lift station. So we got that all done, ready for the next phase when they need to go down and hook up the temporary transformer.
Very nice.
Good job.
We did have an outage Friday night. Our SCADA system worked very good. We all got it, all the crew members and myself, we got a text from our SCADA system that we did lose the circuit. Happened at 10:30. Did come in, we isolated the problem. Got the circuit back up in an hour. A lot of the guys, they got it on their phone, so they called in, wanted to know if they needed help. Yeah, we had a line down. The vehicle did hit one of our ductile iron poles we just set 6 months ago. Pole didn't break, the wire snapped. So, the fix was a lot quicker. We had to replace the pole and replace the wire too. It, put to the test. But worked out pretty good.
Good work.
Really
Thank
did a
you.
good job.
I was personally affected by that and my power was on very quickly, so thank you.
We have to, we turn that into insurance for all the work.
I got a good report from the police.
$15.
We gotta hurry before we get that ordinance passed.
Do you need video?
150.
Well, that's all covered by insurance.
Yeah, we'll get you there.
I do have a question on your
It's in the
used
mail.
poles. Do you sell those or have opportunity to sell them, or can we sell them?
What's that?
The used poles that they can down,
Can't sell them.
can't,
No, just,
not even to an individual for a light pole.
we can give them away, but we can't sell
Liability,
them. Here's the liability or the treatment that's in them, maybe.
yeah,
Sell them.
you don't wanna,
So we get called regularly for people wanting a light pole. I never know where to tell them to go.
Yeah, they have to come down, they load them themselves.
We used to use them for outdoor basketball goals.
Sometimes we have a lot of farmers need fence posts. They'll come and load them all up and take them.
yeah.
Okay, I don't know where to tell them to go.
They just get a hold of us and we can tell them for where they're at.
Okay.
Any other questions on electric?
Thank you,
Very
Jerry.
good.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John.
Jerry, Austin? Water report. Good afternoon.
We'll jump into distribution work. I included some pictures with the report back. First item on the list was 7 water meters for a building in town. The pictures I included kind of showed a cellar opening, the basement where the 7 meters were located, and the shape of the basement and the lighting in the basement. Anytime, this is an apartment complex, and anytime we have to shut water off, whether it be for a mover or non-payment, there's no way to lock those meters out, other than removing the meter in the radio itself. We've been there, ain't we, John? You go down there and you turn them off, the next thing you know, somebody's turning them back on. There's no way, no valve to lock off. So to prevent having to continue to remove those meters and radios, those meters and radios are programmed for a specific address. So if they would get mixed up and put in a different address, somebody be paying for somebody else's water use. So we took some time this month to move those 7 meters outside of the building. And in that bottom right-hand corner, that's what you see there, those 7 meter pits that are back in that blacktop. The curb line and the sidewalk have been poured back at this time. We're waiting on the street department to help us out with that. Other than that, we had a ditch line that comes off of our spillway by our solar array that has started washing out due to the riprap falling into the ditch. So we went down there, we restacked quite a bit of it, and then we had to bring roughly 20 ton in to replace that as well, to fill those washouts in and keep that ditch from washing out further. The intersection at 2nd Street and Walnut, I know that was a hot topic for a while. That had a 4-inch water main in it that was supposed to be cut and capped in the mid-90s. We found out when that water main blew that that was the 4-inch that was not cut and capped in the mid-90s. So, we had to order a couple special parts. Did take almost a month for those parts to get in so we could get back in there and fix that. But that intersection has all been replaced with 6-inch water main. We got the 4-inch out of there. Seems to be a common practice that we found that when water mains were replaced in the past, they laid up to the intersections and left all the 4-inch in the intersections. Causes big issues with flow. We actually have a fire hydrant that's set there at the intersection. It was an orange top. It wouldn't flow over 500 gallon a minute of water. We rebuilt this intersection with 6-inch and we're over 1,100 gallon per minute of water. So that'll also help and aid with our ISO audits and our insurance ratings. Unfortunately, we don't know that that stuff's there until things like this happen. While we were doing that work, we did have to shut off a few blocks of water. And when we went to turn the valve back on at 2nd Street and Geiger, which is a very old valve, it is a 4-inch valve. That block of water main will eventually be replaced and upsized to 6-inch. But that valve, the valve stem snapped on it and failed, so we weren't able to open it back up. So the following morning, we dug that valve up and replaced the valve in section 5. And then that brings us to the 3 valves that we repaired at 2nd Street and Cherry. We were locating the water main out for wastewater. When we did that, we found a couple of old valves that were buried into the rock that they were for the old 4-inch water main that used to run towards wastewater. But we were turning valves to see which valve went which direction. While turning that valve, whenever the valves were built from factory prior to 2010, they were built with zinc bolts. Those bolts on the bonnet that holds the 2 pieces of valve together run off. When we closed that valve and shut it down completely, the bolts popped, which caused the valve to leak. So we dug that valve up and had to replace the O-ring and the bolts in it. While we were there, there was 2 other valves in that same vicinity. It was in the rock, it wasn't in the road, within 5 feet of each other. So we went ahead and dug those valves up and were able to replace those bolts one by one and didn't have to disrupt service. So went ahead and took care of those valve bolts as well. So it's not a future problem in the same area. We did have a water main break on East 1st Street on our 16-inch main between the city park and railroad tracks. No real cause for it that I can give other than that main is just old. We've fought problems with it for a long time. They're very few and far between on that main, but when they do happen, they're usually pretty rough. This one was pretty straightforward. The guys got out there and had it put together within an hour after the locate was called in. So
That's our supply from Patoka, right?
yeah, that is our phase 1 supply from Patoka. That feeds our east tank and then also comes down to 1st Street, 1st and Cherry, up Cherry Street, and then it cuts over. I don't know what little. There's a little cul-de-sac road there. It cuts through up to 4th Avenue and then ties into our south tank. We also this month, we had a phone call from a resident that had some water in their backyard that they hadn't seen before. We went out and we checked some meters in that area. We didn't see any water usage on any meters, but we did dig a small hole in their yard to try to capture some of that water. We went back out there and the hole actually didn't have any water in it to capture to see if it had any chlorine and fluoride in it. But roughly 2 days later, by Glenn Kissling's house, he reached out to me and said there was water there again. So we went back out there and we still wasn't able to capture any water, but we spent a few hours with our listening device out there. We found a service line leaking from the main to the meter on the city side of the meter. So we replaced that whole copper service line with a poly service line. We seen the same thing with it as we have been on the copper. The copper I brought you guys last time. It's like I said, nobody can pinpoint it to whether it's a soil issue or electrolysis or what the problem is. The only thing that we do know is it's being corroded from the outside in, not the inside out. So, Other than that, we've been actively working on our lead and copper survey still. That deadline's coming up for that to be submitted October 16th of 2024. We're hopeful to not have any unknowns. We'd like to be able to have 100% inventory of whether they are lead or they're not lead. We're gonna be very close on that, so hopefully we don't have any issues, and we can continue to work on that like we would like to. With that, we've been doing a lot of GIS work. When we do that lead and copper survey, I'm sure you guys have probably seen an excessive amount of blue paint on roadways. It is water-based, it does come off in the rain after time. But we locate those service lines and mains out in advance. That way we know when we bring the core drill out and the hydro excavator out, we know where to drill. So while we're doing that, we're doing all our GIS work for our service lines and our meter pits. And then we just finished up this week. We had 9 services on the east 400 block of First Street between Lee and Jackson that is on an old 6-inch water main. In the last 3 years, we've had 4 water main leaks on that block of water main. There is a newer 8-inch water main that was installed there years ago. Why the services wasn't moved to that newer water main then, I do not know. But we have moved those 9 services, and then we will end up in the intersection of Jackson and First Street to kill that 6-inch water main before the wastewater project is finalized, before pavement's done. So, other than that, that's all I have for distribution. And as far as our filter plant and our metering system, they're operating as they should, and we're still catching our leak alarms off our census system and notifying customers as we can.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you,
Thank
Jared.
Thank you, guys.
City Attorney Phil Schneider.
I have nothing.
City Clerk Treasurer Thomas Stipple.
Got reports.
No.
Which I'm gonna give you. This is your budget stuff. Hard copy, it's also on your.
Back.
Thank you.
I think I gave you yours already.
Yep.
Then there's the, also like some information here. The fire department. Came in after that was complete. So. We actually be talking about this sheet.
Thank you.
Other than that, I have nothing.
Just something I want to say before the council, and I hope they do. We had the red, white, and brawn this Saturday. I can't say enough for our police officers, our water department. We had everybody contributed in some way. Water department had some work to do on First Street that they got it done. We also, our Parks Department, Street Department, Electric Department, everybody had some effort put into the project. One thing that we had from the promoters that do these all over the Midwest is that they found the city of Huntingburg to be the best city they've worked with, and they truly meant it. And they complimented me, and I said, well, I was just along for the ride. What was set forth in the city of Huntingburg, part of me being here, is what allowed for that to be such a smooth operation. And we've had at least 2 requests for other types of events next year, and maybe a large sporting event that we're looking at. We may run in conjunction with one of the other festivals, whatever, but we're getting a lot of press out of it, and we need to take advantage of it. But it's if you knew the organization behind it, and even our safety department with Andrea spent a lot of time down at the stadium ensuring that we passed our state fire marshal's inspection and everything else. So
Are they interested in coming back?
what's that?
Are they coming back?
Yes, we've already said yes. We got a verbal Yes, and then they're looking at a 3-day event next year. Start on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And a bigger band than they won't,
Supposed to be
bigger groups than what they had this year.
And they had pretty good groups, so we'll
Yes.
conflict with our fourth Friday, then I hope.
I think it might be. in
No,
conjunction, but-
they'll pay in for the Fourth Fridays
Okay.
act. That'll be one of the nights. As they did this year, and the nice thing at Mr. Baldwin, that was on here Friday night, sung his #1 song for the first time live, that hit #1 on Friday. And that got a lot of press actually off of his social media that he committed to Huntingburg. So that was, Huntingburg's being mentioned. I will say that I've mentioned when I talked to some of the crews that are coming up, they recruit people from Evansville and Owensboro to come up here, and I've met some of the first people in. No, 80% of the people I spoke to in that first hour had never been to Huntingburg.
Wow.
It's none of the bartenders at any of the little shuttles had ever been to Huntingburg. They recruit them out of Owensboro and Evansville to come up here and work that day. So yeah, so we have got a lot of press out of this, and I think it continually will build. So appreciate the work that everybody did.
It was smooth from what I saw. I saw just little to no problems with parking or the vehicles coming and going and.
Yeah, we had a lot of talks during the event, taking a lot of notes. I think we come out with about 25 or 30 things that we could improve on. That probably most people didn't notice.
Yeah.
But there'll be meeting September 11th, kind of hash some of those things out. So thanks, everybody. That's a great event. Any council items? Any citizen items? We have one citizen out here. Nothing from you, Dan. Thank you. Well, then I need a motion to adjourn.
I would like to thank the officer for taking on the K-9 responsibility. Thank you. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. I never did it.
Meeting ends at 6:17.
I need that. Yeah, you got that back.
I don't care.
I don't want to be here all night. Steve.
I don't either.
Mayor said earlier, we got to get so early.
Me too.
I could have drug it out for another half an hour.
I went to the